Divaa Uthkarsha, founder of Project Surya and a visionary leader bringing change in lives of many by her initiative to protect the young type 1 diabetics across India who are not having enough financial resources to get them the life-saving medicine that can help you battle type 1 diabetes, that is insulin.
Because most of these children who we've worked with in the past, they've been children of maybe daily wage earners, people who do really menial jobs which have really menial wages, right? And diabetes takes more than 70% of their income, and that is out of pocket.
In this episode, we'll be finding out Diva's stories.
On a very different level when you are, working as a non-profit. I don't know, maybe even like a volunteer, or you're just talking to someone. You tend to ask questions, and initially they may be, a little hesitant to open up. But when they do, it's so eye-opening. It kind of, I don't know, it hits reality.
And we'll be also finding out the importance of hope in one's life.
Reality where you realize how ignorant we are of the world around us. So I think for one, it teaches us to kind of just open our eyes and look around and try to put ourselves in each other's shoe and try to see how the other person feels and try to understand and come from a point of empathy rather than a point of maybe like pity or something else like that.
This is going to be a very candid episode, and yes, I'm very excited for it. Are you? So, without any further ado, let's get into it. Welcome to the podcast. And yes, a happy Children's Day to all the young listeners, and a happy International Diabetes Day to all the type 1 diabetic listeners, type 2 diabetic listeners, and all types of diabetic listeners who are listening to this podcast. Have a great day. So hello Diva, welcome to Kya Haal Chaal podcast, and yes, how's your Haal Chaal?
Hi Apur, I hope you're doing well. Thank you for having me here.
Likewise, it's a great pleasure for us to have you over here. So how's life? How's everything going?
It's pretty tight, with academics and stuff, but I'd say it's pretty good. Yeah.
Amazing, and yes, it's been like you are right now the talk of the town in the diabetes community. Everywhere you are, like everyone is talking about you, and I have personally seen you being like you have been featured on the Better India's page. You have been featured on Mama Earth's page, and so much has been going on. So it's like it's really fantastic. It's terrific to see you, like on these platforms, and it's you are doing a really great work, and I guess all the advocates across the whole world would be loving this right now, loving this podcast session, and they would be really very happy to get to know you. So yes, and we are also, our whole team is also happy to have you over here, and yes, I'm very excited for this podcast. So with that, yeah, so with that, the very first question that I'm having for you, Diva, is that I want to know about the initial days of Project Surya, like how you have like started the like we have heard the story of Project Surya, but I want to know about the initial days, that how it was when you have just started, and you like you were new to this and you were learning things. So how was it? How was the very beginning stage? How tough it was for you to gather data, to get support of people? Because I feel that like being having that experience myself, I guess the very initial stage of a non-profit is the toughest one. So how did you handle it, and how did you deal with it, and how you made yourself grow from that?
Thank you so much for your question, Apoor. Well, to start off with what exactly Project Surya is and what we do. It's a youth-led nonprofit organization which works towards empowering underprivileged children with type 1 diabetes. Now, there's a three-pronged action plan which we follow, which usually consists of awareness, advocacy, and funding. Now, I started Project Surya when I was 13. I think it was the summer of 2021. And the reason why I started Project Surya, I mean, you might be wondering why type 1 diabetes and stuff like that. In 2021, my younger brother, he got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And at that time, I had no idea what type 1 diabetes was. And I had no idea that, kids as young as my brother could, get diagnosed with such a condition. Usually diabetes is something that your grandparents or the older generation gets. So to learn about type 1 diabetes and the entire journey of like accepting his condition for himself and to come to terms with all the lifestyle changes that came along with that diagnosis was very challenging at first. But both my parents are doctors, so we were able to, navigate it through relative ease. But then it kind of got me thinking, seeing how hard it was to kind of adjust to such a lifestyle, to completely shift your entire routine, the amount of the financial resources that went into buying the insulin, the medication, all of the consumables. It was a huge amount, and without proper awareness or without proper knowledge or without proper diabetes education, you could never really control your diabetes or manage it in the
Very
way the
true.
doctors want you to.
Very true.
So I think from there, the understanding of how deep this condition is and how much awareness and financial support it requires kind of got to me. And then I started thinking about those children who had the same condition, type 1 diabetes, but they came from really rural or lower socioeconomic backgrounds. How would they handle such a situation, or how would they handle such a diagnosis, right? I
Hmm.
mean, of
Hmm.
course, maybe their parents are illiterate and they have no idea, like myself, what type 1 diabetes is and how you manage it. Maybe they did not have access to proper hospitals or endocrinologists or people who can sit with them and counsel them and tell them step by step, what you can do and how you can manage it. And thirdly, they did not have the resources, the funds, because most of these children who we've worked with in the past, they've been children of maybe daily wage earners, um, people who do really menial jobs, which have really menial wages, right? And diabetes takes more than 70% of their income, and that is out of pocket expenditure.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
yeah. So it was really saddening to see and to kind of understand while I was doing the research how big of a problem they face. So that was the ideation stage of Project Surya when the idea really stuck to me. And it wasn't really an idea, it was something that I wanted to do, not for the sake of doing it, but for actually, kind of doing whatever I can, pitching in whatever 2 cents I can to kind of helping them out. So initially, it just started with this kind of a thought that, okay, I have to do something to help them. I can't just sit here and, just enjoy life or whatever. So yeah, that's how it started. Building on that, doing more research, I think that was one of the most important stages when we launched Project Surya. So again, ground research, customer interviews with your beneficiaries and who your target audience is. All of that was very important. So I think for the first, 3-4 months, it was just me talking to people, doing research on my own and trying to understand what exactly it is and trying to get a better picture of things because I, for one, did not know what it was, as I mentioned earlier. So I spoke to endocrinologists, doctors in that field, dietitians, people who led diabetes related NGOs. I also spoke with people living with diabetes, their parents, their entire support system, children living with type 1 diabetes, um, and their parents, and all the related stakeholders, whoever were interested or doing something similar. So I think that stage gave me a lot of insights into what the problems they face. Like it was like a first hand account of what problems they face and how we can cater to their problems by providing an effective solution which is also sustainable in the long run. So sustainability was also a factor that was kept in mind while listening to their problems, so that we could come up with solutions that are not just there for the moment or for like 1 month or 2 months, but they're sustainably, so that they can completely sustain their type 1 diabetes management journey and be self-sustained in the future. So I think that was the whole thought process that went behind that. And of course, as you mentioned, the initial stage of any nonprofit is usually the hardest.
Hmm.
So it takes a lot of time to
Hmm.
build trust with stakeholders. I mean, of course, you'll go and pitch in your idea, and you'll talk about it, and people, maybe they'll be like, "Oh wow, you're doing such a great cause," but honestly, that's about it. They do not,
Hmm.
do anything further. And I think it took a lot of time for them to kind of believe that a girl who's 13 years old is taking something like this seriously. I mean, it's not
Hmm.
just my
Hmm.
problem. There's so many youth founders there who face this problem, the age, discrimination.
Very true.
Yeah,
Very
people don't trust,
true.
very often they don't trust such young people. But yeah, I mean, it takes time to build that trust. And once you show them that, okay, you're serious about this, and okay, you're going to do this, and you're not going to back down, I think that's when they start believing you. And it takes time to, build that rapport with them as well.
Hmm.
So, I'd say don't get discouraged by the initial feedback that you get. I mean, of course, there's going to be lots of people praising you, but don't let that get to your head, because that doesn't mean anything. And number two, do not get disheartened by people who say no to you initially.
Hmm.
Um, Try to find alternative solutions, and then go back to the stakeholder when you've, proved that, okay, you can take this up seriously. Um, yeah, I think that was how Project Surya started. And the initial part was just basically me doing all the work, from social media to marketing to graphics to all of this, and offline sessions, coordinating events, everything. But over the years, we've built a really good team, and these people are really passionate about the cause as well, and they joined us from different parts of the world. So it's good to see that more young people are getting interested and are willing to volunteer. So that's about it.
Wow. I mean, it kind of gave me, like right in back in time, because as you said, I was able to relate so much that, yeah, I have, like, you have to do everything by yourself as a founder in the very initial stage.
Right,
That's very
right,
true.
definitely, definitely.
And like, I guess you, like, people of your age group must have faced this problem really very much, that people don't believe you. Like, I know myself that when I was 16 and I went with my idea of a non-profit, nobody believed me. No, not a single stakeholder believed me in the initial stage. And for you, it must be it would be much more tough, because it's like you're so much more younger and you're starting at such an early stage. It would have been like, I can't even imagine now. I can't even contemplate that how it must have gone. But yeah, it's but again, you have like proved them wrong, and you have made them happy by doing such a great job right now. So yes, it is a very great example for all the, for all the non-profit founders, that okay, at a very young age or at any age, you can start and you can, like, grow in your at your own pace, at your own speed, as I have taken from your answer, that it will take time, it will take its own time, so we don't have to come. I guess it would be right for me to say that we don't have to compare ourselves with other organizations who are in the same space, if they are doing well, or if they are doing, like, okay, they are doing better than us, and we are thinking, okay, we are lacking something.
Yeah, I mean,
So
at the end of the day, the way you measure your success is not by how many, the number of people you reach. It's the quality of the work that you do. So
very
I
true.
don't think that should really matter, comparing yourself.
And also, one thing that I want to know from you is that, as you mentioned, you have done a lot of research and you have collected a lot of data in the, like, when you have started, you have collected a lot of data, and right now also you must have got your hands on a lot of insights from, by interacting with different families who are having kids with type 1 diabetes, and who
Mhm.
are underprivileged, who are not having access to resources. So, the thing that I want to ask you is that, what are some of the personal lessons or insights you have gained from working with such families, and how they have impacted, like, like, your workflow, how they have impacted your, like, your life, and how it has impacted your mindset and your perspective towards type 1 diabetes?
That's a great question, actually. I love that question. Um, of course, I mean, it's very, very valid, because you're interacting with people on a very different level when you are, working as a nonprofit. I don't know, maybe even like a volunteer, or you're just talking to someone. You tend to ask questions, and initially they may be, a little hesitant to open up. But when they do, it's so eye-opening. It kind of I don't know, it hits reality,
Hmm.
where you realize how ignorant we are of the world around us. So I think, for one, it teaches us to kind of just, open our eyes and look around and try to put ourselves in each other's shoe. and try to see how the other person feels and try to understand and come from a point of empathy rather than a point of maybe like pity or something else like that. So I think you really learn to empathize with a situation, and it develops your EQ, I'd say, your emotional quotient, and the way you completely interact with such people and you converse with such people. So I think that's something that that I've picked up because initially I wasn't that great at be conversing, but now I think that skill has kind of started picking up. Um, I also learned to be really grateful for what I have. Um, Interacting with such families and seeing the depth of the problems they face, I mean, it's nothing compared to what we think. Oh, our problems are so big. Oh God, I have to do this. Oh God, I have to go to school. Oh God, I have to do
Very
so
true.
much work. Blah blah blah. It's really not that deep. Like these families face so many challenges, like every single day, and these challenges are literally life, threatening. Like it's a yes or a no. It's a question between life or death. So I think
True.
you have to be really grateful for what you have and try to appreciate things you have instead of complaining. And that is, I would say, like my biggest learning from this entire journey. And yeah, I think it will continue to progress from there onwards. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it's one thing I will definitely agree is that you get that, like, you become a lot extroverted. I mean, I have to say that because I remember, like, right now, I can imagine myself in that position that in the initial stage, even I was very introverted. Like, I had never even speak to a single soul, I remember. And when I got exposed to these kind of opportunities now, when I'm volunteering, when I'm running my organization, I was like, dude, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah,
It's really
yeah,
tough talking to people. I mean, a lot of them do it flawlessly, and I'm like, okay, you guys have some great talents, and when I see myself, I'm like, okay, it's really tough, and how do they manage to do it? That's a question that I get, and I guess as a it's very inspiring for others to hear that you changed yourself so much in order for something better to happen in society. Like, for something good, you have changed yourself, you have changed your mindset, and you have learned so many new things just so that you can bring impact in the society. That's a great thing to like take from a story and from this answer. So it's really important for all of us, I guess, on this World Diabetes Day to understand that we all have to like learn some new things and like we have to it's like a give and take thing. Like, you
yeah,
have to
definitely.
learn something, you have to unlearn
Give
some
back
things, and
something.
yeah,
Hmm.
and you also have to like get out of that mindset ki, okay, there are some certain things only that happen. You have to be very much more open minded, because I mean, you must have gone to different families, you must have surveyed them, and if I'm not wrong, you would have found so many different kind of perceptions they are having
Kind
towards
of thing.
diabetes.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, they are thinking, some might think that, okay, it's a very like, it's
yeah,
like their life is over, it's like cancer for them. For some it would be like, okay, aata jata rehta hai, kya hi hoga,
yeah,
nuske lagao and you'll be fine. It's that kind of thing, because
yeah.
like that is also that's a complete different thing. It will be like that nuska wala part to is like, it's because your brother would be relating to it very much, because that nuskas, as a type 1 diabetic myself, I've heard that like that, what we can say, that stereotypes, that
Yeah, yeah.
concussions ki, okay, have this and you will be fine, have that and you'll be fine. That's a completely different band. But I guess this kind of mindset, like, you have to be more open minded when you are doing such kind of stuff.
I think you're doing, such great work, and you're such a good example yourself of what
Thank
a
you so much.
person can do with
No,
definitely.
it's nothing. If it's coming from you, then I'm like feeling very. It's
No,
kind of
like
I'm feeling very
definitely.
validated right now, because you
Yeah, you
yourself are
should.
doing
No,
so much.
you're doing good work. Your work should validate you. It's not
Thank you
good.
so much. That means a lot. That means a lot. Yeah. So moving on. Now, as I mentioned, you also have a if I'm not wrong, 9-year-old brother.
Yeah, he's 13 now. He
He's
was
13
19.
now. Okay, so
Yeah,
should have updated myself, because I read that article. Maybe I read that previous article, because after that I didn't got a chance to update myself. So I was having that. Okay, he's 9-year-old only right now.
yeah.
So so okay. So how has it been for him, like in the beginning stage when he got like diagnosed with type 1 diabetes? You must have seen him that like experiencing all the things. So I want to know about that experience, because that is one of the major reasons that you started your project. So I want to know ki, how was it for him when he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, how he took it, and how you came in the picture, you helped him, and how you made him understand ki, okay, life's not over here, there's much more to happen. And how was it for you yourself as well when you got to know ki, okay, yeah, now my brother is having this disease, and I was having, and like literally at the, like, from what I can get, from what I can say from my experience, that in the beginning stage you don't have any idea about anything ki, okay, this is going to happen, that is going to happen, you are just very
Yeah,
confused.
yeah,
So how do
yeah.
you deal with that?
Okay, so I mean, I can't really speak for himself, but as far as what we have seen, I think he handled it beautifully. I mean, I if I were in that spot, I don't think I could, do so much or kind of work through that so well as he did, because I think I don't know, he was just so like mentally strong about it and had such a positive attitude. I that is something that I truly admire about him. So I think he really put in a lot of effort in trying to understand what happened and how things have to progress from now on. And it was very positive. Like there was no complaints, there was no nagging, there was no negative aspect to it as well. So I think initially, even though it takes a bit of time to adjust, but after that it was beautiful. I mean, there's no one, I think if I were in his position I could have never. But yeah, it's really inspiring. But I think from what I've seen and how we felt, as I mentioned, I didn't really know what it was, so I didn't have a proper reaction to it. I was just clueless. But after learning more about it and seeing how things worked for a few months, um, my mindset was I had trust on my brother. I'm like, okay, he will handle it. Like I don't have to worry. I know that So my dad keeps saying this. It's called as you the highlight mode, right? So you watch let's say the IPL, and you know who won. You weren't able to watch the entire match, but you know who
Hmm.
won at the end of the day. So tomorrow you
Exactly.
watch the highlights, but you know who won. So you know the end result, but you're just watching the process. So it's just similar. So you know that he'll manage it well, but yeah, it's the
Yeah.
process, whatever. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think I'm just really like all praise for my brother. He's just amazing.
And I'm sure he must be very happy to know that Project Surya, like, it's because of him today, it's existing because of him, and he must be like very proud of you as well, that as an elder sister you are doing so much, and you are like just, you're like inspiring so many young kids out there. And yes, it's very great. Like this story when I read about the whole story, not mentioning the fact that I read it, I read the older
9 year.
version, and the and I have said
Yeah, yeah.
9 year old. But yeah, when I
Uh-huh.
read that story, I was very impressed with the fact that wow, it's amazing that how someone else to how someone else worry can make you like like do something so much more. Like how can I cannot even
Yeah,
use
I
the
get what you're
right
saying.
words. I cannot even
Yeah,
use the right
I get
words
it.
to
I get what you
express.
mean. Like use
Yes.
something
Hmm.
negative and make it positive, something like that.
Yes, exactly.
I
And
think also one more thing that we owe it to is technology. Like how quickly diabetes technology is like progressing. Touch wood, it's good. It's really good. Because I've seen my brother like progress. So initially it was those testing, those
hmm,
strips that
hmm,
he used, and then it was the CGM,
hmm,
and
hmm,
now he's on a pump. So the entire transition, it's really cool. And every time I learn about the new technologies, I'm just so amazed, like
hmm,
what science can do. And I really hope for the best. I think there was oral insulin, all these trials keep happening. So the transplants and stuff. So I'm really hoping for the best for the entire diabetic
hmm.
community. So yeah, I'm
Likewise,
looking
likewise. I mean,
forward.
yeah, that's again, as you said, touch wood to that, because it should grow. And like even uh when some of the tech, I luckily by God's grace I got my hands on some of those stuff, that some of the advanced stuff that is not in India, it's
Oh,
outside
that's
India.
amazing.
And
Yeah,
some of the stuff that is not even outside that will be coming, not in India, but it will be launching everywhere else after 10
mm.
years, some of those stuff.
Oh,
And it's like it's like by like I was very lucky to be having that opportunity, and I was very happy. I was flabbergasted seeing that. Okay, wow, it's crazy that people are working. Like there are so many things that are being developed upon. But when we come to India, I guess you must have seen this in a much better way than I have. But technology is taking time in like the technology that is there in diabetes, like the advanced technology that is actually there, it's not coming very quickly in India. It's taking a lot of time. It's like there is so many, like even insulin pumps, if you'll see, there are so many older versions of the same that is being used in India, and much more advanced versions are there in the market. So I guess that's one of the things that, like, again, that would be something that you would be giving much better input on. But this is one of my observations, and related to that, I was also having my question for you. That is that, like, you have been working with so many families who are like underprivileged, who are not having access to a lot of like T1D stuff. So I want to know that, like, while your organization is providing that and filling this gap by providing them with the right medication and everything, have you like used any sort of digital tools or apps to support families in managing their children's diabetes, or in managing their family members' diabetes? Like, have you taken help of any such tools which is which is very much digitalized, and how have you made them like learn about that? Like, because
Got it. Yeah, yeah.
they might not be having I'm not sure, but they might not be having access to such digital tools and tech
Right,
before. So
right.
how have you like done that, if you have?
Got it. So, what we try to do is connect them with diabetes educators, because I don't want to say that I'm qualified in, kind of counseling them, because I'm not. I'm just a student. So,
Hmm.
I don't want to give wrong advice. I don't want to, give facts which are not tested by an educator. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
we usually tend not to directly counsel the patient, because that is not something that we want to do. So we connect them to diabetes educators and doctors and dietitians who are qualified to help them, right? So that is number one. Number two, we haven't really used any kind of technology or an app or some kind of a digital tool to monitor the progress, but there are tools that are already there,
Hmm.
I think on App Store and Play Store, that allow you to kind of connect your phone to your doctor's phone, and you can kind of continuously
Hmm.
send data to the doctor
Hmm.
as well. So that has already been done, but yeah, we haven't really ventured into the tech aspect of it. What we do is we kind of along with helping those with type 1 diabetes, we also spread awareness about diabetes to like the general public, because as I told you, right, like when I was 13 years old, I didn't know what it was.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
imagine, like, diabetes is one of the fastest growing epidemics, right, like in this century. People need to know the symptoms, people need to know the causes, the risk factors, the treatment, all of this, because late diagnosis is worse than
Hmm. Hmm.
anything else. So
True,
getting
very true.
diagnosed early is key. So we try to spread awareness about that to children in school, children maybe in government schools, in our localities, our communities, NGOs. We collaborate with multiple stakeholders for that, for awareness, like Rotary in a wheel. And I think awareness is really important. It's like the root and the base for everything that you build upon. Right. So for that, again, we have worked on a module, like it's a diabetes awareness module again, with a
Hmm.
few doctors, and the fact has been checked. And we just kind of, send this module out to all our volunteers to kind of spread the message further. So in that way, there's no misinformation being spread, and we're also not directly dealing with the patients themselves, so that there's no like discrepancy in what we say and what is actually
Hmm.
correct. So
Hmm.
yeah, I think that answers. I hope that answers your question.
It certainly does, and it does it very well. Like in a very like it very beautifully does answer the question, if I have to say. And yes, also, now the next thing that I want to ask you is that right now, as you mentioned, you have like worked with so many families, and Also the fact that you have like uh you must have got, as I mentioned in the earlier only, that you must have got your hands on a lots of data and insights that were given from that family. And if I'm not wrong, you have run 220 plus surveys, and like right now the numbers must have increased by a great margin. But you have done surveys, you have done interviews, you have done a lot more things to
Yeah.
execute Project Surya.
Yeah.
So among that data, the one very particular thing that I want to know about is the practice of insulin rationing. Like, is it very much prevalent in these families? Because I read one article by T1 International. They did a they recent, like right now also they're doing it, and previous year they did a out of the pocket survey where they ask
Yeah.
individuals
Yeah.
to fill the forms and to tell them about how much it costs for them to to get hands on insulin and type 1 diabetes medication. And
Definitely.
out of that,
Definitely.
they found
Definitely.
out 21.2% of the population in US and in US, India, and a few more countries are practicing and implementing
Yeah.
insulin
Rationing of
rationing in their
insulin.
life.
Correct. 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 Correct.
So have you observed that in your research as well? And what was like the thought process of the families who were like doing this?
Yeah.
Can you like share
Correct.
about that?
Definitely. So I think that was one of the factors that influenced us starting a funding vertical of Project Surya. Initially, we didn't really venture into funding.
Hmm.
So, but learning about the intensity of the financial burden of these families and what these families face, a lot of children, trust me, a lot of them ration insulin. And it's
Hmm.
not by choice, it's by compulsion. They're
Hmm.
compelled to
Hmm.
do this because, okay, for here, I think I have analyzed two factors.
Hmm.
Number one is, of course, because they don't have the money to buy so much insulin or what is being prescribed to them. And number two, they don't know the severity of the consequences of reducing your dose or missing insulin or skipping insulin. So over there again, awareness comes into play where they're ignorant. They're like, okay, it's fine. If I don't take insulin, nothing will happen. It chalta hai,
Hmm. Hmm.
whatever.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
to address these two factors, I think number one, again, we connect them with proper counselors, and number two, we raise funds, crowdfunding to provide insulin to these families, sufficient amounts of insulin so they don't have to ration.
Hmm.
There's been many examples. So I think this is one example that I've spoken about a lot. But yeah, so there's this small village in Karnataka, and there's a family, and they have 2 out of 3 children who have type 1 diabetes. And
Okay.
their father is like a normal daily wage worker, and the mom stays at home. And both of these sisters, they have type 1 diabetes, and they skip doses. They share needles for days and months together. Imagine 2 people sharing needles. And
Okay.
because of that, lots of complications. The girl
Hmm.
lost a kidney. She went into a
Hmm.
coma. And yeah, it's really, really saddening to kind of hear these stories as well. So I
Hmm.
think rationing of insulin, inaffordability of resources, and the high prices what we pay. I think there's a 5% GST on insulin as well, and that's really, really sad.
Hmm. Hmm.
So there's a lot of things that need to change and a lot of things. But again, there's not a lot that we can do. I mean, unless the government really supports us. So we're trying to do whatever we can to try to bridge the gap, but it's not really bridging the gap because God knows how many kids are out there who actually don't know that they have type 1 diabetes. So it's
Very true. Like
really
it's like one of those things that despite of progressing so much over the years, we are still struggling with. And not just, it's like
sad.
it's
It's
ubiquitous, it's
not
not
reaching
just here.
everyone.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's like it's everywhere this is being faced, not just in India, even in
yeah,
USA.
definitely,
So many
definitely.
lives have been lost just
Yeah,
because of this one single practice. And I guess this should be like, right now insulin is such one of such things that shouldn't be commercialized. I think, although it's
definitely
again, there
shouldn't.
are definitely corporates and people,
Yeah,
different type of diabetics and advocates would have different take on that. But I guess it shouldn't be commercialized considering the fact that Banting, the man who himself invented it, never commercialized it. He just said it is
Sold it
for the
for one
people.
dollar. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That's such. I guess that's the testament of the fact that it isn't something that you have to make money from,
Yeah,
because
you make a
people are
business
dying.
off or you make money out of it.
Yes,
Definitely,
because
definitely.
I can see the future right now, where people are, like, again we will be going to a stage where, like, type 1 diabetes would be again like cancer, because people won't be able to afford the treatment only. Like, right now there are so many, like, the prices are increasing like anything. Eli
Yeah.
Lilly, and if I'm not wrong, I guess Eli Lilly did this, that they said that they will be reducing the price of insulin, and then they stopped manufacturing that insulin that they will be reducing the price on. That's
Okay.
one of that move really, like, T1, like, I was
Yeah.
during that time
Big.
I was a part of T1 International, and I was very happy with the fact that, okay, this has happened, and everyone at T1 International were happy that, okay, this has been done. Companies are taking a step, and later on we found out that, okay,
That's
the
really sad.
insulin is not only being manufactured, so it's of no use. So it's very saddening for everyone. Like, we are, like, so many products are being done, so many surveys are being done, so many petitions are being given, yet we are at this stage, and
No
that's
action.
that's
Yeah.
something that's it's alarming. So we
True.
need more organizations like Project Surya and so many more initiatives that can,
Yeah,
like, help
definitely. Like, if
help us reach.
everyone, just puts like one single email or one single letter or just like
True,
one single signature,
very true.
a lot we can do. Yeah.
That one signature, that one mail can, like, it speaks volumes, and it can
Mhm.
bring a major difference.
Definitely.
Also, now when we are talking about this, I also want to hear from you about the misconceptions that the families of the
Okay,
underprivileged
that's
kids who
a
are having
really
type
good
1 diabetes,
question.
like, they
Hmm.
are having, like,
Yeah.
what kind of misconceptions do they have, and how it is a challenge to you and your team, like, and how do you deal with it? I want to know about that.
Of course, because education awareness is a big pillar I mentioned.
Hmm.
These families, they have information that is half true, half authentic. You know, they don't
Hmm.
wait to
Hmm.
hear the big picture, so
Hmm.
they're very misinformed,
Hmm.
I would say. A few of them, very rarely have a good understanding. They actually do some research and they try to understand it. But most of them, especially because in India, there's a lot of stereotypes, lot of societal constructs and societal prejudice or something.
Hmm.
When you hear, okay, someone has a condition, a child has this condition,
Hmm. Hmm.
usually in Indian villages and stuff like that, they're treated as different. They're treated. There was this one case where this girl, or I think it was, yeah, so the grandmother didn't really know much about it, and so she didn't let the girl eat from the same plate. So there was a separate plate for her. So there's so many,
Okay.
yeah, different kinds of misconceptions and lack of understanding and misinformation that spread. There's also this other case. I haven't spoken to them personally, but a doctor was telling me there was this boy whose grandmother took him to a um what do you say, those babas that claim
Arey,
to
very
solve.
well.
Yeah,
Very
so
well.
he took a jhadu and he lit it on fire and he burnt the kid, like his thigh.
Oh,
That was
oh
like
my
really really
God.
disheartening. Yeah, that was.
Oh my
Oh
God.
God, it really it's really sad that all these things happen
I
around
can't
us
even
and we're
imagine
aware of
that.
it.
I'm not even able to imagine that.
Yeah,
That's.
that's really sad. I mean, along with that, common misconceptions like, okay, I'll skip insulin and I'll take like Ayurvedic tablets, type 1 diabetes will get cured, and confusion between type 1 and type 2 diabetes. You see those
Hmm.
weight loss apps and ads that say, okay, you join our app, you'll get cured of diabetes. They think it's for type 1 diabetes, but there's no alternative other
Hmm.
than insulin. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, lots and lots of these misconceptions. Eating white rice or eating lots of sugar
It's
can cause diabetes.
it's very widespread now, I guess.
Yeah, the most widespread one. But yeah, I mean, it's not even just the people who are illiterate. It's literally people in your own circle, like my relatives or my friends. They also would have that kind of construct or something like, okay, eating too much sugar leads to diabetes. Like, I don't blame
Oh.
them. No
Hmm.
one really took the time to tell them,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
But I think think when you hear something like that and you correct them, they're okay, like understanding. They're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So I think all of it is
Mm,
just with awareness. So the more people we have talking about it, the better the situation and the understanding is going to be.
mm. No, that's very true. I mean, there are so many, like, as you mentioned that, like, like there are so many of those misconceptions. I have heard some of them, and they are like bizarre. They are very bizarre. Like, you know, as you mentioned that, like, that what this one was like, yeah, that have that, as I said in the beginning, connotations, and Ayurveda one, they are so
Yeah,
prevalent. Once I
yeah.
was traveling, like I was traveling with my family, and there was this uncle who came to me, and he saw me injecting insulin, and he said, okay, you are type 1 diabetic. See, I have this suggestion for you. What you do is take that aloe vera leaves, and tie it in your thighs, and don't take insulin. Your sugar level will automatically go down. Just
Oh
like,
God.
tie it in your thighs, and then walk around with that only, and you will see the magic. I'm like,
God.
wow,
God.
what, like, this is and this is not even the bizarre. The most bizarre one was that I was in an Uber. I was like, I was traveling with my family, and the driver said to me that, भैया एक काम करो, ये मंदिर में जाओ, and they will, like, they'll massage you with a certain oil, tail, something, and your diabetes will be gone completely. And I was like, okay, this is the
God.
heights. This is the
Yeah.
best one that I have heard. And I always, like, like, uh, I jokingly say this in my whenever I'm, like, like, interacting with all the newly diagnosed kids or newly diagnosed teenagers, that these kind of misconceptions, na, you will be hearing very much, that okay, use that, karele ka pani, methi ka pani, all kinds of water you'll be
Yeah.
hearing.
True.
So, and I was really very curious to know about this, because, like, you and your team would have faced it on such a bigger level, and I was very curious to know that how you guys, like, like, would be handling it. Like, how is it, like, how do you clear that misconception? Because, building a misconception is very easy, but removing that misconception from your mind is a
The
tough
only
challenge.
solution is a scientific explanation, like to try to get them to understand that okay, there
Okay.
is nothing greater than science. You
Hmm.
you know the science, you know how this works. This does not equate to science, so this does not work. That's like
Mm. Basically, a
basic.
very time-consuming process. It would be tedious. It would be very tough. I mean, yeah, your struggle is very
I
much.
mean, the support, I mean, of course, the credit all goes to the diabetes educators and not to us. But yeah, I mean, they're also doing their best.
Mm.
So
Yeah, they are doing a terrific
they're
job. I
amazing.
mean, I have
Yeah.
seen so many educators who are, like, so calmly. Some of those misconceptions are, like, when you hear them, you, like,
Yeah, they don't
अंदर से
react
गुस्सा आ
because
जाता है, या
they've
अंदर
heard
से
it so
गुस्सा आ
many
जाता
times.
है.
They're just like, oh, okay.
Like, some, so it's like some gets so annoying that you, like, from your insides only, you're like, okay, it's frustrating,
Yeah,
but
infuriates you.
the educators, some of those educators are so good. They listen it again and again, and they'll take the whole day, but they'll explain them that, okay, this is how it is done, this is the scientific explanation, and yes, and the person will understand, and the, like, person sitting in the front, they'll be like,
Yeah, they have a
okay,
lot
now
of
we get it.
patience. That's true.
Yes, they have a lot of patience, and then when they learn it, they're also like, after, like, after a month or two, they're also like, that okay, we have, like, okay, this
Yeah, yeah.
misconception we were having, that's so much bizarre. But yes, I guess that's one of the, like, what we can say. It's a perk also of being an educator, plus, and it's also a downside at the same time.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, no, that's, yeah. But I guess this is in this World Diabetes Day, we should be, like, focusing on this misconceptions. Should be something that, some of the misconceptions should be, like, the, highlight. I feel
Yeah.
that
Like
some
on
of them should
billboards and
be.
stuff, it'll be like
Ex-
really funny.
that would be. I would personally love seeing those billboards. I'll be like, someday.
Maybe
I'll
we should work on that, maybe email like a few billboard
definitely.
companies and stuff.
Yeah, we should, like, like, start some fundraiser for those billboards, or we should start saving, and we should, like, just keep those
Yeah,
billboards.
that's actually a good idea. Yeah.
That would be fun. Even, like, see, all the type 1 diabetics would be loving it. It would be
I know,
insane
I
for
know.
them.
That's actually a good idea. Maybe we should take that forward. Like
Definitely.
maybe like pool and resources and like hire one like big billboard that says like
I'll be like, if I see that billboard something, I'll be like, I'll be taking. I can see my phone right now. Only I can see my phone gallery being like completely
filled
full
with
with
that,
those
yeah.
pictures.
Basically.
So yes, but yes, but with that, we are like almost at the end of this podcast. And last few questions before we wind up for you, Surya. That is for you, Diva. I'm so
No
much.
worries, no worries.
It's like
It happens.
it happens. It happened with it because I've like like seen Project Surya grow so much, and recently, I'll be very honest. During my research, I've been going through Project Surya's work so much that I'm like, I was genuinely getting confused between Diva and Surya, because I was like, because you have this is something that is very great about you, that you have always highlighted Project Surya and not your name that much. You have always highlighted that I am from that. This is that Project Surya is doing this. Team Surya is doing this. It's very
It's a
very
team
few
effort,
founders.
right? It's a
Yes,
team
and very few people, like I have met some people who highlight themselves with the organization. They highlight themselves. They highlight them more than the organization. Like the organization is in the need of awareness, but they will be doing their marketing. That okay, I'm the mind who is behind this
effort.
organization. And seeing you when I saw like you highlighting your organization so much, and I was very happy. And that's why I was when I was reading about I was reading about Project Surya, and I was reading about everything. I was like, "Ki-" I was getting very confused. I'll be very honest. It was a genuine like that created the confusion, and that inspired me also in so many
No, that's
levels. Ki,
actually so true. Like, I get this a lot. Like, even when, like our inter-school tournaments or fests or something, they're like, oh, the Project Surya girl. So, like, they don't know my name, but like, yeah,
yeah,
but
that's
I mean, it's a team effort. So, of course, the
mm,
credit all goes to my team as well. Yeah,
it's like it's like people know Batman more than Bruce. It's kind of like that. So you're
yeah,
creating
we
that
got
kind of image. Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. That's a very it's very cool to hear. But yeah,
Thank you so much.
moving on.
Hmm.
The the very first thing that I want to ask you in this last chapter of the podcast, I'll say, last few minutes of the podcast, which I don't want to be few minutes because, but right now time is our enemy, so we can't do
Yeah.
anything. So, the very first thing that I want to ask is that who is the real diva? Who is the girl behind Project Surya? Like not the one who is running Project Surya, but the one who was. I want to know about the personality who was there before Project Surya. I want to know about the diva uh who was just like, I want to know about the true diva. I don't want to know
Got it,
about the
got
one
it. Yeah,
who is
yeah, yeah, makes
running
sense.
Project
Okay,
Surya, but
okay,
before that.
got it. All right, all right. So I think I've always been instilled with values and morals from my parents, and I'm really grateful to them for that because, um, every situation it was an opportunity to learn something new from it. So they were always and are always, my biggest support pillars. And my mom really, really did a lot. So I mean, credit goes to her as well. Helping me out and like giving me connections and contacts in the first few this thing because she was a doctor, so that really worked out. But about me, I'm just a very chill person in real life. Like I find myself occasionally funny and humorous, and I have like a really loud laugh. Um, it's kind of funny, but yeah, that's that. I read books. I play basketball. I used to play basketball at school, state, and even the national level. I
Wow.
still love exercising and like doing athletic stuff. I love listening to music. You can always find me, maybe my Spotify listening. I don't know, the
Likewise.
capsule for
Likewise.
2024 will be like a lot of minutes. But yeah, I love listening to music. I love vibing to Bollywood. Like, I love Bollywood. Like, imagine not having Bollywood. I love
We
spending time
can't.
with my family. I
We,
love watching movies. I love
wow.
watching like really funny movies and like rom-coms or yeah, whatever you call it.
No,
And
that's
yeah, I just love I think uh meeting new people and like interacting with people. and like making everyone feel, like seen and heard and feel nice. So I think that's something I like.
From what I have got to know about you in this like in few hours that we have spent, I had having conversation with you, I can say that you really love being yourself. I guess I can say that you
Yeah,
really
I
love
love
being
myself. I
yourself.
love being like, having that air of confidence. It's good to have confidence and to be confident in, I don't know, like whatever you do. Like, I feel like for me, especially, like I prepare myself. So I self-talk like every morning. It's, what they call affirmations.
True.
But yeah, you
Likewise.
just look into your mirror and talk to yourself. You're not crazy when you do that, trust me. But yeah, I
True.
think that just
I
sets the
biggest
momentum
supporter
going
of
every
that.
day.
I am the biggest supporter on that. I do that myself a lot, and people have like
That's good.
they say that you need help or something. I'm like,
No,
no,
it's
that's
completely normal. Trust us, guys.
exactly. It's very true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. I mean, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, so we relate on it.
and I agree on that. Bollywood has given some really good stuff. Right now, I'm a bit disappointed with the
Yeah,
the
but like
rom com
no,
situation.
2010s Bollywood music was
Arey,
like on top. Yeah,
ZNMD on top. My
yeah.
anytime I can sit. It's my favorite movie. I can sit
I
anytime,
agree.
and I'm like, whatever the mood is, play ZNMD. I'm like, I'm full into the picture. And every time I see it, it's always new. And Spain always becomes the dream again. So, so that's what they about. Yeah, it's a totally different conversation. But yeah, I'm like, I really enjoyed this conversation that I had with you, Diva. We all my listeners got to learn so much from you, and I'm sure you like you have inspired so many people, and you'll continue doing that, because I'll personally say you please do continue that, because it's like it is
Thank you so
something
much,
very
Abdul.
important. It's very important in today's day and age for like people to get inspired, because the world is full of wars, full of hard times and situations, and when these kind of stories come up now, the teens are like, okay, there is so much that you can do, because they think that they have limited options. But when people like you, teens like you, who come up and who do something different, shows that, yeah,
I
you are
mean,
not only having single option. Yeah.
definitely,
Yeah, please.
definitely. I think this World Diabetes Day, everyone has to find inspiration amongst themselves. I mean,
Hmm.
but you said that okay, you're such a big inspiration. I mean, honestly, what we've done is very, very small to what we can collectively do together.
Very
So I
true.
think to come together and come together for a particular cause, and to not waste your time doing things that are irrelevant, that don't really have any kind of gain at the end of the day. I mean, of course, enjoyment, entertainment, yes, but there's a limit to that. So sometimes you have to start thinking about what's good for the people around you and for those who don't have what you have. So I think just this World Diabetes Day, that would be my message to whoever is watching this or listening to this. Just find one cause that you're passionate about and put your heart and soul into it. And just try to impact maybe like 3 to 5 people like around you and inspire those 3 to 5 people to impact another 5 people. So that chain of like, I don't know, like change making or giving back to society keeps continuing. So give back, give more, you'll get more. So yeah, that's about
Hmm. And like that was one of my questions, like the very last question, that what was your message for our
Oh,
wowsome
okay.
listeners, that like we
Telepathy.
call our we call our listeners the wowsome listeners, and I guess they truly deserve that. So
Yeah.
yes, but yes, I guess that's it. That we are at the end of this podcast, which I really don't want to end now, because there are so many different topics that we cannot talk about, like that I have
Definitely,
found during this
definitely.
conversation. But again, time is our enemy. This is a very common phrase now, I guess, in all my podcasts, that time is the enemy all the
It's okay,
time.
that can be like your catchphrase.
Yes, catch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We can like keep it along the like along that billboards. We can also write somewhere, time is our enemy, somewhere in the corner.
Right, right.
But it's also our best friend. It's like it's time is like that friend who also becomes enemy at the same time. It's like best friend,
Mhm.
and it's also like your best enemy. But
Yeah,
again, that's
true, true, makes sense.
but again that gets very philosophical, and we'll be going now into a totally different conversation. Another few hours on that. But yes. But yes, with that, we are at the end of this podcast. Thank you so much, Diva, for joining in. It was fun having a
Thank you
conversation
for
with you.
having us. Thank you.
And yes, so with that, we are at the end of this podcast. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy this episode. And with that, I'll be taking your leave. I'll be seeing you guys in the next episode. Till that, I'll meet you all soon. And yes, stay tuned to Kya
Have a
Hachar
great day.
podcast. And yes, have a great day. Okay, this is your host and host Apurva Shah signing off. Bye everyone.